We hope you're enjoying the innovative performances and art exhibitions, the great food and drinks, and mingling with old and with new friends. The Community Foundation has been very important to my family for the last 12 years when we established a donor-advised fund at the foundation. There are over 700 funds, and in 2016, and listen carefully, we donated $75 million to 1,800 nonprofits. It's amazing. Most of this money went to the greater Washington area, and events like tonight's celebration and you guys spreading the word make sure that the Community Foundation is no longer Washington's best kept secret. I want to extend a warm welcome to all the elected officials from throughout the region who are with us tonight. Thank you for coming. I'd also like to extend our deepest thank you to the host committee. If they could raise their hands and be recognized, that would be terrific. And another thank you goes out to our generous sponsors, which include many people from the host committee. Can you give us a wave as well for our sponsors? If you talk to any of these folks tonight, please thank them for all they are doing to make our community stronger. We had a bold fundraising goal this year, and I didn't think we could make it. But I'm happy to report tonight that we exceeded our goal thanks to everybody's support here. Finally, and no gala is complete without a lot of thank yous. And the biggest thank you goes out to the Community Foundation staff, in particular, Jenny Towns, Catherine Whitbrow, and Emily Davis. Thank you for all your hard work. They're the ones who put in the many months of hard work to make this celebration such a success. It's now, and I'm going to recognize the Hutchison Design Group as well. They've been with us for the last 3 years and have done a fabulous job tonight. So thank you, Hutchison, as well. It's now my honor to introduce Bruce McNamer, the president and CEO of the Community Foundation. Bruce has had an illustrious career, previously being the head of global philanthropy and CEO of the J.P. Morgan Chase Foundation and president and CEO of TechnoServe, where he raised revenue from $15 million to $75 million and expanded their reach into 30 countries. He's also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and we certainly need his help there these days as well. When Terry Freeman left the Community Foundation after having served for many years in 2014, we launched a national search to find Terry's replacement. We had lots of candidates from across the nation, and when we interviewed Bruce, it was clear he was the best candidate for us. He's lived in the district for many years, but was not involved in philanthropy in the local area. So Bruce wanted to give back to our community, and we could not be more grateful that he is here with us tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce Bruce McNamer.
Hello. This thing is on. That works, doesn't it? So, thank you, Gene. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for your leadership on the host committee. Host committee, we're so honored by your generosity and your leadership. Thank you again. I want to extend some thank yous of my own, but particularly to so many of our nonprofit partners who are here with us tonight. Thank you for being here tonight, but more thank you for being with us 365 days a year. We're honored to partner with you. We could do nothing without you. I also want to sing about Gene's colleagues at Cressa, our premier sponsors here tonight. Thank you for making this possible. And I, too, want to extend just a heartfelt thanks and my pride to all of my colleagues at the Community Foundation for the work that you do, both day in and day out, but for making this an event and success. Would you guys please wave, and would people here join me in giving them a round of applause? But really, this is a celebration about so many of you and the ways that you care about and are working so hard for this community to make Greater Washington a better place to live. And we at the Community Foundation have a front row seat to the myriad ways that you do that. We see that as we get involved in your philanthropy. I will say that this year, this fiscal year, our donors put an additional $75 million into funds at the Community Foundation. That's their down payment on philanthropy in this region. That's their commitment to what it is to make this a better community. That's worth celebrating. On the grant-making side, as Jean has said, last year the Community Foundation granted $75 million out to over 1,000 really, really remarkable organizations. In our history, the Community Foundation has granted over $1 billion to 8,000 remarkable organizations. That is really worth celebrating. And there are myriad other ways in which we get to see so many of you every day. We see it in public-private partnerships. We see it in funding collaboratives. I see it on site visits. I see it in emergency response that we all get involved in. I see it in community benefit agreements. We see it as a platform for your civic and citizen participation in making this a better place to live, and that is worth celebrating. And that work has probably never been more important than it is right now. And you know why. We live in a region that is thriving and growing, and yet we risk and in fact do leave too many of our neighbors behind. We're living in an era where the federal support from a policy and budget perspective, for helping the most needy among us is now somewhat in doubt. And it's never been more important time than for people in community to step up. And that is a challenge, but it's one this community is fully capable of responding to. We know that. We see how you do it every day. That's what good communities do. That's what the Community Foundation is here for, to help you, to help our neighbors in the most profound and elemental ways. And when I think about neighbors that care, and we think about neighbors that care, and those organizations and people who are doing the most for the causes that matter in that region, it's so easy to alight upon Patty Stonesifer and Martha's Table. We're so proud to work with them, and we are doubly proud to award them with our 2017 Civic Spirit Award. And I have with me on the stage tonight Dr. Johnnetta Cole. She is the director, obviously needs no introduction, of the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art. She herself a remarkable leader, an educator, and neighbor. And she's here to present our award to Patty and to Martha's Table. Johnnetta. Yeah, join us. I'm going to do a little switch up.
Good evening. On this particular night in Women's History and Her Story Month. And what a special evening this is as we celebrate philanthropy. Now that's a mighty big word, but let me tell you what that word means. It simply means doing for others is the rent you gotta pay for your room on earth. I cannot tell you what an honor, what a joy it is for me to introduce my shero, my sister friend, Patty Stonesifer, who, as you know, so brilliantly and soulfully leads Martha's Table. How well I remember when the news broke, and it was big news. The Patty Stonesifer, who had served as the CEO of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Patty Stonesifer, who had chaired the Board of Regents of the Smithsonian. Yes, this amazing and grace-filled woman would serve as the volunteer sister president and CEO of Martha's Table. Now, you probably know the history and her story, that it was in 1979 that Martha's Table began as a result of a partnership between Dr. Veronica Manns and Father Horace McKinnon. And what did those two righteous folks go into cahoots about? Something so basic, simply to provide a safe place for children to eat and to read after school. Today, that partnership has expanded to efforts, I mean effective efforts, that address critical needs in our community. Emergency needs with healthy food and clothing programs. And through Martha Table's education and family support services, our little ones, who are really the only future that we've got, will themselves have a future. Now, I want you to hear me when I say that Martha's Table is a response to an outrageous reality. That is that in the richest country in the world, that there are women and men and children who suffer from food insecurity. You know the stats probably as well as I do. But let me tell you, this is not a national issue with no reality where we live. In Washington, D.C., 31,000 children do not know how they will get their next meal. But thank goodness for Martha's Table that provides not just food, but healthy food. And every night of the year, Martha's Table hosts a pot supper in 4 locations throughout Washington, D.C. And wait a minute, I'm not done. Martha's Table, Martha's Table's Joyful Food Markets program brings free groceries to over 30 locations throughout Washington, D.C. area. And more, Martha's Table provides a healthy start for children, little bitty pumpkins as young as 3 months old to 3 years old, and provides them with out-of-school time for pre-kindergarten and elementary age students. And yes, Martha's Table engages with families to give them the kind of support so that they can become the kind of family that everyone wants to be a part of. So, dear philanthropists, friends, sisters and brothers all, I declare that if Martha's table did not exist, it would be necessary to invent it. My shero, Patty Stonesifer, would be the first to say that all of this good work is not done by a single person. Patty happens to love a particular African proverb that I love no less. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so it is Patty with the board, with the volunteers, with you, the donors. It is with the community foundation. It is with all of us that this good work is done. Now, I want to bring closure by sharing with you some words that were spoken by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But I will declare to you that Sister Patty Stonesifer could have written and said these words. Hear them. All that is simply to say is this, that we are all interrelated. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. As long as there is poverty in the world, no man or woman can be totally rich, even if they have $1 million. As long as diseases are rampant and millions of people cannot expect to live more than 20 to 30 years, no man or woman can be totally healthy, even if they just got a clean bill of health from the finest clinic in America. You see, said Dr. King, we are unbelievably and intricately tied together. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Martha's Table, for the way that you relentlessly honor the call in that message. And now you will witness as I, on behalf of the Community Foundation, invite Patty Stonesifer to this place to receive the 2017 Civic Spirit Award. And let me say, this is so classic Patty. You think the volunteer sister president would come up here by herself? She brought her posse with her. You are the better.
Lovely. Now that is an act to follow, right? Well, this is a big and wonderful room full of people eager to network, but I'm going to try one thing for just a second. Remember, we take care of babies all day, so we know how to get people to pay attention. If you can hear me, say hey. If you can hear me, say hey, hey. All right, now, here we are. As the wonderful Dr. Cole said, we are all really happy to be here tonight. And it is such an honor to have her do that introduction. She stands for everything that we mean. But I'm accepting this award on behalf of Martha's Table, which means 85 colleagues, including the 3 wonderful colleagues standing with me right now. Ryan Palmer, the head of all of our external relations, Amy Kurz, who heads up management and administration, and Tiffany Williams, our amazing head of programming. I've got other wonderful colleagues tonight here, including Karen Gramont, who heads up our healthy eating, and Timothy Jones, who's been with us 20 years, making sure that our older youth have the experience of a lifetime. It's such an honor to represent this group, and our amazing board, who we have many of here too. Hi, Kathy. See you there. We are so grateful to the Community Foundation and to Bruce McNamer, not just for this wonderful night, but for the important work they do every single day. An equally huge thanks to our generous donors, especially the Horning family. Your transformational giving is bringing out the best in us and changing us in so many ways. But one of the beautiful things about this event is the number of partners that are here together, whether it's Critical Exposure or Project Create, or those amazing poets from DC Scores, or the women we now all want to be, the drummers of Batala. They are the only thing that is more difficult to follow than Dr. Cole. All of our partners and our 18,000 volunteers are really making us stronger and really backing our mission for stronger children, stronger families, and stronger communities. But I have to call out the Capital Area Food Bank because, as Dr. Cole said, the 29 joyful food markets, 11,000 children, we couldn't be doing it alone. We have to go together. And we have school leaders from those schools here tonight. So if there are school leaders here, please thank them because they do the heavy lifting every day. We just bring the food and the education. So after 4 years at Martha's Table, just 4 short years at Martha's Table, I stand here tonight on the shoulders of amazing predecessors. But my story begins very much like the neighbors who come to Martha's Table. I grew up the 6th of 9 children in a working class family. I dropped out of college with big school loans and got married right away, had 2 kids, my beautiful daughter and my son, and began to focus right away on making money to keep my family afloat. I eventually returned to the local state school extension and cobbled together enough credits to get that degree. And all was kind of shaky, but kind of good. But then one day, I joined this little startup called Microsoft. And that changed everything. I was at the right place at the right time, and certainly I'd worked hard. But I also had a hugely important head start that I want to talk to you about tonight. What makes my story most different from the 200 family leaders who come to Martha's Table every day is something I had zero control over. It was the privilege of growing up white in America. Once I arrived at Microsoft, and at every step thereafter, running the world's largest foundation, chairing the Smithsonian, leading Martha's Table, I looked like the Harvard and Stanford grads surrounding me. No one questioned my belonging. No one questioned my credentials, including my state extension school degree. In fact, at the Smithsonian, before they asked me to be chair, do you think they asked for my CV? Of course not. And by the way, it doesn't stack up remotely to that of Dr. Cole. The advantage that I shared with my 3 predecessors at Martha's Table was one thing: the color of my skin. There was no template for being a success as the president of Martha's Table, except perhaps for one inadvertent thing. Our neighborhoods our experiences with teachers, with schools, with shopkeepers, with public officials of all kinds, with financial institutions, not just in our generation, but in the generations that preceded us, with virtually every aspect of American life was given a bold boost of white privilege. So why in the midst of a celebration like this one do we dwell on something as difficult as race and privilege, especially in a room filled with people so committed to good work? And that is because this award is named the Civic Spirit Award. And if you want to fully accept the duties of being a great citizen at this critical time in our country, at this critical time in our region, I invite you as donors, as leaders, as citizens to join me and to join Martha's Table and to join Bread for the City and to join the others that I am learning from and growing from to enter into an eager learning, to have open discourse and thoughtful action on this very important priority of advancing racial equity. Let's acknowledge our own roles here tonight have been hugely affected by privilege. Your role as donor or recipient, as CEO, or as early childhood teacher. And we're all part of some organization or social construct. Our churches, our business, our nonprofits, our schools, even our book clubs. And we must also be re-examining all of our organization through this same lens. How does our long history of inequity based on race affect our own history and our own organizations? In the past, perhaps we were unaware, or if we're 100% truthful, uninterested in the hard work of creating greater equity. But I believe that that is not true today. Please become a vocal ally and recognize your privilege and spend the time to keep learning and work in solidarity with oppressed groups in the struggle for justice. This is the journey that we are on at Martha's Table, and it is a journey to hold ourselves to not just being a great social service organization, but to being an anti-racist organization. Our ultimate goal is not more people attending joyful food markets or more beautiful babies in our doorways and in our classrooms. Our ultimate goal is to stand with our fellow citizens in partnership to find enduring solutions that ensure in our community the color of your skin does not affect your access to quality food and quality education, to safe streets and safe parks, and to living wages. That is what it means to be a great organization. We will still go boldly, but we need to go a bit slower. We have to listen and learn authentically as donors, as board members, as leaders in all of our many roles. We have to trust our own instincts and our own anecdotes far, far less, and truly take the time to build the civic spirit we are all here to celebrate. Based on that great adage, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go authentically together. So friends, thank you for joining us in this new level and new way of building civic spirit with a pledge towards advancing racial equity, a new level of learning, a new awareness of race and privilege, and then together, indeed, we will go far. Thank you for this great honor.
There's that old adage. If you want to go alone, go after Patty. So Patty, thank you. And thank you for reminding us all, as you just have done, of the vital importance of remembering where we come from as we come to this task of community building. Patty, the Community Foundation stands with you and all of our nonprofit partners as we commit to equity and racial justice and an inclusive community that is vibrant and resilient and prosperous for everyone. So, let me thank you all again for your support, for being here tonight. The celebration will continue. You're on your own now. Have fun. Thank you for coming.